All right, here is video review for the Transformers Crossovers TMNT Party WALLOP, where Transformers Collaborative Crossovers, or whatever they're calling them. But yeah, Party WALLOP. I don't know why they didn't just call it WALLOP. I know it's the Party Wagon, but WALLOP, it seems like a better, just generic name than Party WALLOP. I thought maybe that was a typo, but nope, sure enough, on the packaging it says Party WALLOP. So that's fine. That's the name. You can call it whatever you want. I really wish they had gone with maybe making it generically Metalhead. Well, I guess not generically, but you know, instead of just going with a plain generic head. But we'll go over all this stuff. We'll talk about it as we go through. And it is, as you can see, a really nice representation of the Turtle Van. It's got the logo on the front, the face, the shell on top, nicely proportioned, rolls pretty well, and it does take a little bit of downward pressure. Like, it doesn't roll freely, but you can roll it around without any issue. I do wish, my one complaint, it does have plenty of weapon storage. You can see under here. I wish they had found a way to make the swords maybe plug in, flipped around so the blade kind of tucked under this piece down here. It looks like they may have had the space to do it, only because doing it the proper way leaves just these two tips of the sword sticking out past the front of the car. It's not the end of the world. It's a very minor issue. I just wish it had maybe been just a smidge more hidden there in vehicle mode. But the cannons can lift up and down. These can rotate. This is a removable piece. It comes separate. The spoiler is also a separate piece that needs to slide onto the shell part when you get it out of the box. And speaking of the box, it's a Voyager class figure that comes on a blister card. And here's what the blister card looks like. It's kind of cool. My only regret is that, not my regret, I guess I didn't do it. This cardboard over here is taped up, and I was really hoping that if I undid the tape here and here, I could pop this up, open this panel, and slide everything out the side, and that is not the case. It is entirely blister packed on here and sealed around the edges. Like, even if you get this all undone, it's still, come on, that one's taped back up. Here we go. I only hung on to this just to show it off, but it is back here. You can't just slide it out. You do have to actually unseal it and rip it off to get to the tray. It would have been nice if this were open and just slid out to preserve the packaging. Not the end of the world. I generally don't save packaging anyway. It just would have been for a collector's line and at the $50 price point for a Voyager. And granted, he does have some extra above and beyond for a Voyager sized figure to justify that increased cost, but it would have been nice if the packaging were a little more collector friendly because it does look nice displayed in the packaging. See some pictures on the back there, all the different things, but we'll get to most of those features here momentarily. He's a fairly largest vehicle there he is with the new Deluxe Bumblebee side by side. Also, really nicely scaled. If you happen to have any of the old Nickelodeon Ninja Turtle Lego sets, it's actually pretty decently scaled for them. We just found a bunch of these in an extras bin. I have multiple copies of these because I bought several of the sets. Like the Leonardo here is, I couldn't find a non-rebreather mask Leonardo. That's the one that came with the submarine. So that was the only Leonardo I could find in the bag of extras. But there's the Ninja Turtles, Lego Ninja Turtles with the Party Wagon. Maybe not quite proportional, but it looks like they could fit in there and ride around and fit properly. So just a fun little display option if you happen to have any of those Lego sets. So anyway, on to transformation. And again, we'll show off all the features and things as we go. We'll go ahead and pop the swords off. And you want to be a little careful because the way the swords, they tab in very securely. And you want to be careful you want to try to get your fingernail as close to where it tabs in as possible because it's very easy to bend these a little bit if you try to pull them off from the extreme ends of the swords. And then we'll pop the sai off from underneath here. Now, one of the things that I had an issue with initially, and it's still kind of giving me a problem here now, is this side didn't tab in very well because there's a big fat tab on this hinge that's this piece is supposed to kind of lock behind. You can kind of see the divot, and I trimmed those off because that locking tab was just too thick and you couldn't really easily there's not enough leverage once you get attached to the leg to push that over that tab. So I trimmed it so it could close because it was causing this to stick out like way far out here. And I could kind of get this to tab in and wedge it tight, but it would come loose very easily. So if you're having issues with that on either side, there's a little tab here you could trim off. Anyway, that said, we're going to go ahead and pop these panels right here up and up to the side, which unlocks this panel, which can now flip up, and then untab the wheel. And those are going to sit there on the hip like that. These come up, and you can go ahead and fold them in half and just get them up out of the way for right now. Unpeg the spoiler and shell piece off the back here. That's going to free up the legs. And then from the middle of that, these windows unpeg from the lower part of the leg. You can go ahead and split them apart here to help get them off. And then this whole assembly, you can see there's some tabs here, fold down like this. And then the whole shin piece folds up and clips into place. Right here, there's this little tab and circle on the knee cap has a slot, corresponding slot, see inside this yellow panel here. So fold that up, get that tabbed on. The feet have some ankle tilt here. Go ahead and flip the heel out and flip the wheel down into the bottom of the foot, and that frees up the ankle tilt there. It's a little tight, but you can get it to move. Back here, keep these out to the side, bring the arms down, and then just unpeg them from up here, and then you can rotate this whole assembly. And I'll lift up the hood here to unlock all this stuff. And then bring this out to the side. This panel lifts up and rotates out, and then the arm comes down, and this panel with the fist rotates out. This panel stays on the forearm, unfortunately. You can see there's some nunchuck storage underneath that shoulder, and those can stay there during transformation, as well as Donatello's staff stores up in the shell of the car, and that can stay there during alt mode as well. The sword and the sai exchange places. Bring those out. Flip that up and see it from the other. A little hollow on the underside, but all in all, it's not visible once you get it all said and done. You can see different head pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and pop them all out for ease of showing off all the features, but these can all store here in both alt mode and in robot mode. So whichever of these extra pieces you aren't using, you can store the staff there if you're not displaying them as Donatello. But we'll go ahead and pop that off for there, and we'll pop out each of these little bandana pieces, just for the sake of not having to constantly come back here later on in the review. There's the spoiler piece. As I mentioned, it is separate, and it's got some little slots here that it slides into, and a little peg hole. So you just line up those grooves, and then slide it down until it pegs in. It comes as a separate piece, as does this piece right here. And then come back here, flip the head up. And then these panels, again, even with the staff there, they can do this, but you fold these panels in on the shell part, and this will come up. You can kind of see there's some little tabs here that are going to slot into the spine piece as you do this. And this piece actually comes down on a double hinge there, because there's a couple of slots right here that are going to tab on kind of back into the shoulders. If you start moving them around too much, it doesn't tab, those could come loose, but you get it all tabbed in. You can bring these back up. You can rotate the spotlights to face forward in robot mode. These hip pieces are on a hinge, so you can kind of lift them up and get them a little closer to the legs so they're not as egregiously hanging out to the side. And right here is the basic robot, the generic Party WALLOP robot. Like I said, it would have been nice if it maybe had a metal head instead of just a generic bandana-less turtle. But for whatever intents and purposes, there's the basic figure. And just for real quick, I got Animated Optimus Voyager class to show you how he compares to another Voyager size figure. And like, he's about the same height, but he's a lot bulkier and has a lot more bits and pieces and moving parts and things. So when he's in this mode, again, the nunchuck can store under here. Donatello's staff couldn't stay restored in there. We only pulled it out for the review purposes. The swords right here have little tabs, and there's little slots right here. So you can tab these onto the back shell piece. I didn't tab this one in all the way. I didn't hear it click like the other one. So make sure that tabs in all the way. And then the sai, there's a little slot here on the wheel piece right here that you can see. So you can take the sai and store them right there. So all the weapons store in alt mode. This little piece comes off for, I guess, just to give him some abs here if you leave the front of the car on. We'll talk about that in a minute. And on the underside of his little pizza. It's not, it doesn't appear to do anything else. It doesn't tab in anywhere else. But if you just, there's a little hidden pizza for the Ninja Turtles if you decide to pop this piece off to display kind of shell abs here underneath the front of the car. You don't have to leave this attached. You get a little bit more Ninja Turtle looking thing. Getting this tabbed in securely. Because the whole front piece here comes off. And there's more of a standard Ninja Turtle shell hiding under there. There's a generic belt. And then this piece has a little peg right here. So you can attach this to an arm as a shield, which is what the instructions show. You can also set it off to the side, but I don't generally like having parts just sitting loose, so I will usually put it on as a shield. But you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But yeah, he can hold and wield any of the weapons. Like there he is with a sai. As a generic turtle robot, however you want to do it. Nunchucks actually have linking chains. They're not just hard plastic, so they do kind of swing naturally, which is cool. But as we already saw the pieces that we removed and all the different weapons, you can customize them to look like any of the main Ninja Turtles. So we'll go ahead and take the nunchuck out. We'll do Raphael first. Give him a sai. He should come out a little further. And then so you pop off the headpiece, the generic headpiece, take any of the bandana pieces. So now we'll put on Raphael's bandana and also lift this panel up and you can rotate the letters on the belt. So there is Party WALLOP as Raphael. Go ahead and take the sai out. Okay, well, we're just going to set this off to the side for right now, but you can leave that attached as a shield. Go ahead and pop this off. We'll pop on Leonardo's bandana. Grab his swords. And swap his letter to the L. And there you have Leonardo. You can, if you want. I know some people who have bought 5 of him to leave him as both the generic robot and display him as all 4 of the turtles. You can do that. If you don't want to do that, you can just pretend he's a generic bot that can swap all between them, like I'm going to do. I don't know if I want to have. These are just little friction hinges. Those can sometimes pop apart real quick. But flip this out into the stick mode. Obviously you can only hold it on one end of it. I mean, you might be able to get him to pose in a way where he can. No, I don't know if maybe you can. I don't know if you can really get a natural dual-handed staff pose. I guess you kind of can if you wanted to. It's still a little short for really. Nope, you can't. you can get the hand on, but to get it to look really natural as a two-handed pose doesn't really quite make it. Actually, this should be this way. But yeah, he can have his staff. Actually, we'll just go ahead and move on to Michelangelo. And like I said, I'm just setting everything off to the side just for the sake of expediency during this review, but all the weapons can store at all of the times with all of the various modes. So if you're doing him generic, or if you're just doing as a Michelangelo, you can still store all the weapons on him. Now, granted, it seems a little weird to see him visibly storing swords on his back as Michelangelo, but again, it's a Transformer. It's not actually the Ninja Turtles. So there he is as Michelangelo. Let's go ahead and just put him back. Just for the sake of finishing up the review, we'll put him in the Ninja ones, not to show any favoritism, so we don't have anybody crying foul. I'm just being silly, but there's Party WALLOP. I think I already did show him off with it before I dropped him. So, but yeah, Poseability. Like I said, this tends to come loose. I wish this the shell piece latched a little bit better, especially up here on these tabs, because it'll lock in securely as long as you don't bump it. But the minute you start moving the arms around and the head around, it's real easy to knock this panel loose. And this panel is really what locks this whole thing together. It tabs in back there, but this is a more secure locking mechanism. But he's got a rotating head on a ball joint. You got dual hinge shoulders, and these can get out of the way, and these can rotate a little bit to arrange for more posability. He's got I don't know, it's got more of an elbow swivel. It's not really on the bicep, it's just under the bicep. And then a 90-degree hinge there. He does have wrist swivels, despite the fact that his wrists are kind of fixed. This is as far out as they go. They kind of sit at an angle there because of this. He does have a waist swivel, which is nice. Dual hinge thighs, and again, these can kind of come down and get out of the way for wider stance poses. He's got a thigh swivel, 90-degree hinge knee, and then some ankle tilt there. Like I said, I know some people who have gone all in on buying one to represent each of the Ninja Turtles. And that is entirely up to you if that's what you want to do. I think they'd make a cool display as all the robots, but because again, you can see them all together. What it might look like on the back of the box with all the different versions that you can put together. I don't feel like I need, because that's at $50 a pop, that's $200 if you just want one to be each of the turtles, $250 if you also want to keep the generic version. So entirely up to you how to spend your money. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't know. It's neat that you can make them be any Ninja Turtle. I like that all-in-one functionality, so you don't have to buy multiple. They're not offering it as each individual turtle, and you have to buy them all individually. I think it's nice that everything stores properly in both modes, even if this ends up just becoming a shield over on the side, or if you want to just have it on the front as a plate. But it's a nice all-in-one figure. The party wagon mode, the alt mode, is fantastic looking. I think it's a really fun not really micro, but a smaller representation of the party van that you don't need to have a super large one to fit all your 6-inch scale figures into. Because I know there's been a couple of attempts at that from, I think both Super 7 and NECA have done them. But yeah, it's a really fun figure. I don't know if you need multiples of it. I think it's worth getting at least once. I actually was able to use my GameStop Pro, which I thought I had canceled, but apparently it was set to auto renew, so I've got that for another year. But I was able to use my $5 off on that, and it was on discount when it came in stock for Pro members. So I ended up saving like $8 all told on it. But yeah, I think there's enough bits here when we're already looking at like $30-ish for a Voyager, $35-ish depending on where you're shopping. There's a lot more to this than a standard Voyager, with a lot of extra pieces, a lot of extra engineering, and I feel like it's just justified the price. But I wouldn't pay more than $50 for it. I wouldn't pay more than retail for it if you can avoid it, because I don't know if it's that great. But I think it does a pretty good job of justifying its cost. The packaging is nice. You get it does come with I don't know where it went, with full color instruction sheets. I had the instructions out here to show off, and now I don't know where they've run off to. So, but yeah, I also did want something like, okay, they fell on the floor. But yeah, full color instruction manual, which is nice, all the way throughout. You don't see that often on a lot of Transformers these days. But also, just for fun, I went and grabbed. This is not all my collaborative, because I have the Jurassic Parks too. I think I have another. I don't have the Stranger Things one yet. But as a kid of the 80s, there he is with Ectotron and Gigawatt. So you got Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future. A lot of my childhood there, now represented in the Transformers universe as well, which is really pretty cool. Like Ectotron, I like, but I got one of the very early ones, so he's kind of. I'm thankful he's just standing there because he's got really loose knees. Gigawatt, does Party WALLOP beat Gigawatt? And I don't think it does. Gigawatt's still, I think, my favorite of the Transformers collaborative figures. But Party WALLOP's real close. Because this is a really fun, like I said, you can get all four of the Ninja Turtles. It's a really nice all-in-one representation. I think it's a neat idea, a neat concept, a fantastic party van representation when it's in alt mode. And my only real complaint is I wish they had gone with Like, there's just something about the generic mode. It's just yellow and green, and the Ninja Turtles need a little bit of that pop of color. I just wish they had maybe made this generic version a metal head-esque head with the side cones and the yellow bandana. Now maybe a third-party company, they do a lot of add-ons. Maybe they'll make a little cap that can go on him that can turn him into Metalhead. But even if not, I think he's a fun figure. But there is Transformers Collaborative with Ninja Turtles Party WALLOP. It's a silly name. It's a really fun figure.